Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for September 13th. September 13th is the 256th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 257th in leap years, with 109 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is transcendent. Transcendent is an adjective that means surpassing usual limits, supreme in excellence, beyond the range of usual perception, or free from constraints of the material world. Transcendent can also be a noun that means that which surpasses or is supereminent, something excellent. Transcendent comes to us from Latin. And with that, we're going to start in 1501, when on September 13th, Michelangelo began work on his statue of David. In the early 1500s, a Roman Catholic priest named Martin Luther, you might have heard of him, came to reject some of the tenets of the Roman Catholic doctrine. He wrote several documents outlining and detailing his ideas, which really stuck in the craw of the Roman Catholic establishment of that time, who happened to be quite powerful. They demanded that he renounce his writings. He refused. They excommunicated him, and he was condemned as an outlaw. A few years later, another priest named John Calvin also came up with some ideas that were not in keeping with the Roman Catholic doctrine. In this time, it seems it was a common practice for the Roman Catholic Church to name what it viewed as heresy after the founder of that particular heresy. Hence, Lutheranism was named after Martin Luther. And now John Calvin's teachings came to be called Calvinism, and it was considered a high insult to be called a Calvinist or a Lutheran in those times. In the 1530s, then, John Calvin was implicated as a collaborator or sympathizer with the reformer who'd been run out of town, and Calvin found himself forced into exile as well. And so it is that on September 13th, 1541, John Calvin returned to Geneva to reform the church under a body of doctrine known as Calvinism. On September 13, 1788, the Philadelphia Convention set the date for the first presidential election of the United States, and New York City became the country's temporary capital. During the War of 1812, a battle raged over the city of Baltimore. The British failed to capture the city. During the battle, Francis Scott Key began composing a poem he would call The Defense of Fort Mchenry. This poem was later set to music, and we know it today as our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. This is the birthday of American physician and biologist Dr. Walter Reed, born September 13, 1851. If that name seems familiar to you, you may have heard of the Walter Reed Army Hospital in Washington, D.C., which was named after him. Besides having a hospital named after him, he earned his place in history by leading a team that confirmed the theory that yellow fever is transmitted by a particular mosquito species rather than by direct contact. Besides that, he has quite a remarkable story. For example, he went to medical school and got his MD degree shortly before he turned 18, the youngest ever recipient of an MD degree from the University of Virginia. That's something, isn't it? There's a lot more, of course, but that will be it for now. Walter Reed lived to the age of 51. This is the birthday of Milton Hershey, born September 13, 1857. He's the founder of the Hershey Company, maker of Hershey's chocolates. Actually, the Hershey Company has a variety of candy brands, such as, of course, the Hershey's Kisses and the Hershey's chocolate bars. They also have Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Jolly Rancher, Almond Joy, York Peppermint Patty, Twizzlers, and several others. But this is about Mr. Hershey. He pioneered the manufacture of caramel using fresh milk. He sold his caramel business to focus on making milk chocolate, my favorite kind. Mr. Hershey lived to the age of 88. On September 13, 1899, a man named Henry Bliss became the first person in the United States to be killed in an automobile accident. This is the birthday of British novelist, poet, and screenwriter Roald Dahl, born September 13, 1916. He wrote imaginative and entertaining children's books such as James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Matilda, and more. Several of these have been made into movies. Mr. Dahl lived to the age of 74. On September 13, 1962, an appeals court ordered the University of Mississippi to admit James Meredith, the first African American to be admitted to the segregated university. He didn't waste that opportunity. He did well, went on to get a law degree. He's been involved in some civil rights activities, but really just identifies as an individual American who simply demanded and received the constitutional rights held by any American citizen. Speaking of civil rights, Martin Luther King Jr. addressed a crowd of 20,000 West Berliners on September 3rd, 1964. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that is called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, Parler, BitChute, and Getter. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.